validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Today, we got us a very interesting show. Today, we are going to be touching on our discussions related to the stimulus checks in 2025. So I appreciate you guys enjoying the show. Make sure that you guys take a chance to like and subscribe. Boss, yeah, I like that. For those of you that are coming in, if you're new, I told you before, like and subscribe. But also, if you want to jump into the conversation, you can always click that that link in the comment section. Approve the mic, approve the camera. It'll bring you on in real time. So make sure that you got your hair and nails did if that's what you're going to do. And make sure that you are over the age of 18. When you get into my green room, I'll confirm that you are grown and then put you up onto the screen. You can turn your camera off after I confirm that you are an adult, because this is an adult podcast. And everybody else is going to be in the comment section. You guys can always send us some special likes, special thanks, special emojis to help support the podcast and everything that we do. And it'll help us get that 4K HD quality that we've been trying to put up here for a while. We're still dealing with that poor internet situation, but we're trying to rectify that in weeks to come. Remember, we are live 7 days a week. We did start about 10 minutes late tonight, but we are guaranteed to be around about 10 o'clock every night, 7 nights a week. And we usually try to run about an hour, maybe two, give you guys a lot of details and a lot of insight on the topics that we discuss. We're going to be listing the rest of the shows for the rest of the week after tonight's show. So you'll be able to check those out later tonight, early tomorrow kind of thing. And for those of you that are watching us around the world, special shout out to Brazil and Romania and Russia. You guys would ideally see it later this afternoon kind of thing. So same day, because there's like a 12 or 13 hour time difference between us and the Middle East. So everybody that's on the Middle East side, you guys will see stuff before bedtime. For those of us that are on the western side of the country, you guys will see things by tomorrow. Either way it goes, we're going to have everything set up and situated for you guys, so you'll be able to enjoy that. As I said before, we're going to be diving into these stimulus checks. Let's go ahead and get into it. So as we dive into the numbers and try to figure out if you'll actually score a stimulus check in 2025 tax season, we just want to go ahead and cover as much stuff as we can find about this. So understanding whether you'll receive a stimulus check in the 2020-2025 setup is crucial, especially with the economic uncertainty we're currently facing, with rising inflation, changes in government policies, and shifting economic conditions. It's more important than ever to stay informed about your potential eligibility for a stimulus check. The future of stimulus checks is uncertain, and it's anyone's guess whether we'll see another round in 2025. Economic conditions can change rapidly, and these changes can have a significant impact on government policies. One thing is for sure, though, if stimulus checks do come back, they'll likely be tied to economic indicators like GDP growth, unemployment rates, and inflation. We've seen it before, stimulus checks being issued during times of economic downturn and then disappearing when the economy starts to recover. But what if the economy takes a turn for the worse? Will we see another stimulus package to help struggling Americans? These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves as we head into the 2025 tax season. The truth is, while no one else knows for sure what's going to happen, one thing is certain: it's essential to stay informed and be prepared for any eventualities. By understanding the factors that could affect stimulus check distribution, we can get a better sense of what to expect in the 2025 tax season. And, you know, my buddy Joe Mastrano, who was on the show a few months ago, he is actually a tax agent, and he's doing, what is he doing right now? We got tax season coming up right now. He's got like a 10% discount if you mention this and that when you go to sign up with him. So definitely check him out, because he's saved people up to $10,000 or more on their taxes, and he would have all the information that you would need based on stimulus check recovery. If you have not recovered a stimulus check, and if you qualify for one, what's the parameters for that? Making sure that you're not missing out on adequate capital. Now, the IRS is set to send approximately $1,400 of stimulus checks to around 1 million taxpayers who did not claim the recovery rebate credit on their 2021 tax returns. Now, this initiative aims to distribute about $2.4 billion in total payments to eligible individuals, and payments will be automatically deposited into bank accounts or sent via paper checks by later January 2025. So to qualify for these payments, individuals must have filed their 2021 tax returns. So for those people who file every other year or don't file at all, you wouldn't receive a stimulus check because you did not file taxes in 2021. But if you did file in 2021 and either left recovery rebate credit blank or claimed it as $0, those who did not receive all or part of their stimulus payments during the pandemic may also be eligible. In addition to federal stimulus checks, California is issuing a $1,200 inflation relief check to residents who meet specific income and tax filing criteria from 2022 and 2023. So these payments aim to help offset rising living costs due to inflation and are expected to be distributed from the October 2024 through December 2024 tax season. So if you don't get it between October and December of this year, you are likely to see it when you file for taxes in January through April of this year. Now, while California has implemented its own inflation relief program, providing checks of up to $1,050 to eligible residents, which isn't a lot of money in California, but it's a lot of money to people on the East Coast. Other states have not universally adopted similar measures. California's programs was specifically designed to address financial strain caused by rising costs and is part of a broader effort to support low and middle income families. So, trying to help the broke folks that don't invest money to have more money, because the bottom 99% stimulate the economy with their spending, because the top 1% don't buy nothing. Or at least when they buy, they buy very few things that may cost a lot, as opposed to the rest of us that buy a whole lot of things that cost a whole lot of money. So as it stands, there is no federal mandate for states to issue inflation relief checks, leading to a patchwork of responses. Some states may choose to implement their own relief programs, while others may not offer any direct financial assistance related to inflation. States like Texas are focusing on energy efficiency and rebates through programs established by the Inflation Reduction Act, but these do not directly translate into cash payments for inflation relief. Residents will receive a total of $3,284, which includes a $650 inflation relief payment. And this would be for Alaska. And in Idaho, there will be individual filers who will receive $300, while couples filing jointly will receive $600, with payment processed starting in late September. There are families that can receive one-time child tax rebates of $250 per child, up to a maximum of $750, which accounts for about 3 kids, which is the standard average. That would be the nuclear family, 2 adults, 3 children, or the 2.5 kid scenario, which is 2 kids and a baby. There are currently no new federal stimulus payments checks planned for 2024 beyond the aforementioned payments for unclaimed credits from previous years. So the IRS has clarified that there will not be additional stimulus checks issued this year or rolling out in 2025. So they're just playing catch up to the people who haven't gotten theirs yet for some reason. Discussions about potential new stimulus measures or inflation relief initiatives may arise, but as of now, there is no comprehensive plan that guarantees stimulus checks will be issued in every state. So when it comes to stimulus checks distributions, one crucial factor is income levels. In the past, we've seen stimulus checks being phased out for higher income individuals and families. And there goes Max. What's going on, buddy? It's been a while since I've seen you dive in. How's Joe doing? No. So he's asking me, can somebody give you money? No, they can't. There are no grimace shakes, buddies. They're off to a good start. Once they remember that we're here, they dive in, and there's a trail. As I said before, as long as they're reasonably positives, I kind of put some of these. We got some jokes going on here. I usually put some of them up here. So if you give an alien a low tapered fade, you would be assuming that an alien has hair, which is completely different from the expectations of a Yeti. Now, there is a very good question. Can taxes be massive for no reason? Actually, yes and no. We could feel like as taxpayers that they tax the bejesus out of us for absolutely no reason. But for the most part, government issue taxes cover certain programs that the government will be funding. Outside of weapons and research, the government also funds other things like education, health benefits, loans, the stimulus checks, and there are a few other programs that they do that actually directly impacts the day-to-day population. But when you see things like standardized healthcare, where the government gives out free healthcare, you see an increase in taxes. When you see the government doing other things like providing a benefit to 100% of the U.S. population, you start seeing a lot of increased taxes for stuff like that. So let's see. He came back and he's talking about so he's talking about the firearm tax as well. ATF is doing that. That's not a situation where those of us that on a regular basis do what we do pay taxes on that. It's the people who are getting military grade weapons that are going to be ATF regulated. Those individuals are going to pay a tax stamp for those firearms. Now, granted, after they pay that tax stamp to the IRS, as people complain about having to pay those tax stamps, the fact is that while you did pay taxes, if you do file taxes and you have enough tax deductions, if you claim that you've paid that tax stamp on your tax return, they more than likely could issue you that money back. So technically, it's a cost of doing business. One of the reasons why I disagree with the tax stamp is because you are registering your firearm so that the government knows how many firearms that you have. And then while you've not only paid taxes on it, they're also going to come back and be able to kick your door in and mess with your firearms. And that's not something that I want anybody to know how many that I have. So there's that. Let's see. We got some more statements up here. So nope, there isn't any other taxes that is massive than that. So what is the most massive? No, we're not doing the memes. So related to tax topics for today, we have to remember that if stimulus checks do come back, it's likely that income limits will play a significant role in determining who gets a check and who doesn't. The same way with the reparations that rolled out and was limited to 3 to 4 generations. People thought, oh, everybody is going to get a check. But actually, after we did our research, we come to find out that they're doing 3 to 4 generations down the line, where the last qualifiable generation would have to be as old as 1965. So if you were born after 1965, there's absolutely no way that you would receive any form of stimulus check. And that's one of the reasons why, I mean, not stimulus check, reparations check. And that's one of the reasons why we look at those individuals that were negatively impacted in 2020, 2021. Those individuals would see a stimulus check rebate. So for those of you who did not qualify for tax paying in 2021 because you weren't old enough to file taxes, or you just didn't make enough money to file taxes, didn't think about it, you guys would not be included in the distribution of taxes in 2024 for the 2025 tax season. So one of the things that we have to understand, exactly, he said it, but he was saying it related to something else. That's not actually the case. That's good. So you guys are not actually going to be getting what you thought you were going to be getting when everybody got excited when they were saying on Google that there might be like a $400 stimulus check issued to some people, some qualifying people, and there might be a $1,400 stimulus check being issued to other qualifiable people. We heard earlier this year that there was supposed to be an $1,800 distribution that was supposed to happen allegedly, but after the U.S. government locked up, and no, I don't unfollow anybody. So that's how that works. I mean, it as long as whatever they got going on their channel, if I am following them, as long as whatever's happening on their channel is not negatively impacting what I'm doing, then no. So we have the family size is going to be another important consideration. In previous stimulus checks packages, larger families have often received larger checks, but larger families means more children. So do you think that, when they start offering stimulus checks to the, $500 per kid up to 5 kids, that you're going to make a whopping quantity of money off of these kids? No, not really. They can give you like 5 or 10 grand worth of stimulus checks, but when you think about how children cost up to $12,000 to $15,000 per kid, in addition to your regular standard of living, you're going to be paying a ton of money for them kids throughout the year just to get one chunk of change that a lot of low-income Americans end up holding on to for Christmas time, if they're not using it to pay for school supplies and school clothes. So that the money doesn't last very long. And nobody takes their stimulus check and throws it into a stock option where they can gain interest off of that money throughout the year, and then take the interest off of that money and use that to do something simple to some of the kids. If this trend continues, we will see families with more dependents receiving more significant checks. And that's going to help those individuals. But you got to remember, in order for us to have larger families, we're going to have to see a lot less females participating in that 4B movement, because with the way that they're protesting the country that they voted for, they are going to oh, he caught my attention. I'm gonna touch on that in just a second. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So with the way that they're promoting that 4B movement, we're gonna have a lot less reproduction going on in this country, and that's going to mean that we're going to have smaller family sizes, which is also going to mean that we're going to end up experiencing the same stagnation in reproductive growth that the other countries are experiencing. The other countries, on the other hand, where they have a population of like 4 billion, they feel it a lot bigger when they're looking at a 3 billion body decline as their elderly population starts to die out. So, hey, now before we continue with the stimulus checks, Max was saying something about somebody. You're talking about Vixen. You said 6 million. He has 6 million followers, but he is evil. He has a massive unfollowing. and you're saying that he is saying racist things about minorities on a live stream. Vex bolts. Now, I don't know. I might have to go check that out. I might have to collab with this guy. Because if he had 6 million followers and he lost 2 million of them, I could probably pick up 2 million of them. Unless, of course, he's making it make sense. Now, you got to understand that some people just outright say things that are inappropriate and nobody likes them and they just unfollow them. But what they're saying, they have the right to say. But there are things, because you got to remember, when you say that he's saying racist statements on YouTube, YouTube does not like hate speech. So the fact is that if he's not banned from YouTube, he's not saying hate speech, not direct hate speech. He might be saying speech that directly makes certain people angry, but okay. So he says stuff like that. Now, that is a socially inappropriate comment, but again, it's borderline, because making that particular type of statement is the kind of statement that could be, well, I mean, but you got to think, if it was a joke, then yeah, it could not be perceived as, hate speech, which means he's still monetized, which means it's not racist. I mean, I, I don't know why anybody says it with the hard R or the soft R, because you got to remember that it was. Oh, so he's talking about bringing back the working class. Hey, so hold on. Let's touch on that. So 2 things I want to talk about real quick before we get back into the stimulus checks. So first of all, nobody should be saying the N word with the hard R, or the soft R, or any kind of R, because if it's not in the vocabulary of your native language where it represents a specific color, if it is representing a social class, then it is a derogatory statement, even if it's done in a positive light to your homies. You should not self-degrade yourself by identifying yourself as the N-word. You should not degrade anybody that you value with the N-word, the same way you should not call the females B's and H's, because and they shouldn't call themselves that either, because self-devaluing happens when you identify yourself with negative slang. So if we're going to hold ourselves to higher levels of self-respect with first-person accountability so that we can demand more respect from the society that we live in, we are not supposed to devalue and degrade ourselves by using derogatory terms to identify ourselves or the people that we value, because we are the company that we keep. So if we are going to keep low value people around us, that brings down our value. It's just like having low value houses in a neighborhood. It brings down your property value. So you want to hang around people with more prestige so that you can increase your levels of prestige. It's not just what you know, it's who you know. Now, when the guy that says that he wants to bring back the unpaid worker, that's how I'm going to put that. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Back in those days when unpaid workers were getting paid, were not getting paid, they weren't getting paid. The economy was more fluent because you had a business that had a overhead of just the materials, the cost to make the product, with no labor costs, which meant that profits were higher for the business owner and the cost of the product was lower for the consumer. In all fairness, while some people think that that was horrible what those people went through back in those days, in all fairness, from a business mindset, if you have a product, we're going to be able to throw out there like digital software, digital ebooks and stuff like that. If you have a product that has no labor costs to it, you have a higher profit margin, which means that you can sell the product for a lower price, which means that more people are going to be willing to buy the product, especially in our inflated times because of the price of the product. So, do I believe that a specific group of people should be unpaid to do work? No. But do I believe that in business it would be most encouraging to have at least volunteers and interns to offset the cost of labor so that you don't have to pay so many people to do the work? Yes. But I also believe that when you cannot afford to, when you cannot find a large quantity of individuals who will pay you to do certain things, you also have to remember that it is a good idea to offset to AI and have machines take over where people used to be. So if you're not going to replace them with a free labor force, you're going to replace them with machines that are going to be 25% or less than the cost of the hourly wage individual. Like, for example, the Digitech robots that are in Amazon are going to cost approximately, I do believe it was $24 a day, $24 to $25 a day, which amounted to something close to about $3 an hour, $3.50 an hour, which is way better than the $40 an hour minimum wage that California is putting out, and the $30 an hour that was being argued for in Alabama, and the 500 people that protested in Starbucks when Starbucks already had a line when the staff was full. Now that it had the protests, nobody could get their coffee when people were protesting in other areas for Starbucks. So you got to think about, these are the things that negatively impact our economy. And then when you think about how taxes is going to play a role in that, the budgets, the GDP that is able to facilitate income distribution comes from taxpayers paying money to the government so that the government does have a surplus to give back. It's not going to be given back on an even distribution level. So the people who do pay taxes are probably going to get some tax credits back, but then some people who have changed tax brackets are not going to get that. Now, when Trump said that he was going to change the tax brackets to two brackets, one would be the 15% level and the other be the 30% level, you're probably not going to see that type of design until 2026 tax season for the 2025 year. As it stands right now, they have some adjustments for the 2024 tax year in the 2025 tax season, and that was implemented in September. And you kind of already knew who the president was going to be when they made those changes. So you got to remember that while tax filing status is also likely to play a role in the stimulus check distribution, you have to also think about the fact that in the past, joint filers have received more significant stimulus checks than single filers. And if this trend continues, we could see joint filers benefiting from more future stimulus checks. And you got to think about the fact that when they say that they receive more, usually when you're a joint filer, you usually see 150% of what a single filer would get. So when you're doing a joint filing and you have children, you might get 150% of what you would have gotten had you filed by yourself. If you've got 3 kids and you joint file and you get 150%, you're both not able to claim the same child. So getting that increase where it's deductions across the unified family is going to be more beneficial for you filing joint than what it would filing individual, because you would have one person with their stimulus check and 1 or 2 kids, and another person with their stimulus check and 1 or 2 kids. So you have to think about that when they say that the joint filers get more. The joint filers get more because they get 150% of what a single person would get, including the dependents, because there's more miles to feed. You also have more dependents. You got to think about that. As we head into the 2025 tax season, it's essential to keep an eye on economic indicators and government policies. By doing so, we can get a better sense of what to expect when it comes to stimulus checks. So while no one can predict the future with certainty, understanding that factors that could affect stimulus check distribution can help us prepare for any eventuality. One thing is for sure, the 2025 tax season is going to be critical for many Americans. With rising costs of living and stagnating wages and economic uncertainty, everyone, a little bit of extra cash we're going to need. And we can make a big difference with that money if we save it or if they were to invest it. So Max is talking about now, Max, when the you got to remember that those guys, uh you want to use the beliefs or the belly files. I don't understand what you tried to type there. The US military back in the 60s, the ex-military soldiers was the 3K group. And the fact is that if they brought back the actions and behaviors from back in those days, you'll start seeing a lot more pit bulls, and you'll start seeing a lot more flaming wood in people's yards. But that's not going to change anything. You got to think about back in the day, the militias that were out there, the groups of individuals that were trained armed forces in our local neighborhoods happened before we actually had full-on police forces. Now that we have full-on police forces, the police the people, but the people should be policing the police and policing the people, where there should be a intermediary between uh, um, self-governing cities versus the law enforcement officers that are now overwhelmingly violating the rights of citizens without protecting them. So, when you say that, uh, you're claiming that the 3K group can uh, utilize the military, ex-military, or something to that effect, use their same policies. I could say that is not a beneficial um, arrangement for the country. Now, you're asking me how much is Amazon's EDP 445? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know everything about everything, but when you ask me a random question about that, unless you're talking about the machines, those machines were upward of $100,000 a piece. And Jeff Bezos bought like 200,000 of them and put them into action. I think he upgraded them to about 750,000 for the fleet, but $100,000 over the course of 10 years is $10,000 a year. And if the device costs you $25 a day to use, that is still cheaper than $350 a day per person. So think about that, especially when that machine can do the job of 3 to 5 people. Think about that. So our tax season for 2025 will begin when the IRS starts accepting federal tax returns, which is expected to be around the 15th to the 31st of January in 2025. The exact date will be confirmed by the IRS closer to the start of the filing period. You can prepare your taxes early, and then hold on to it so that when the filing date does come out, okay, real quick before we start talking about that, he's going to ask me a legitimate question. Do you think a lower taper fade is a good, modest haircut? If you do not have a hairdresser that can take good care of your hair, a fade of any kind will keep your cut low, keep your cut short, and doesn't have you with a bald head. It does allow you to have the ability to blend different knots in your scalp versus different craters in your skull, so that you don't have patches of hair in certain areas and gaps where there's no hair in others. So they can keep you looking pretty sharp and have all of your hair at an even length, even if your skull doesn't grow even. No, a lower taper fade is not really all that different. You have different types of designs with fades. They have them highs or lows, depending on how close to the ear you want your fade to start versus where you want it to be. If you want to have something more of a flat top, it's going to be more hair towards the top and less on the sides, and it's not going to it's not like they're going to have like a mural carved into your scalp because it's a lower tapered fade. Tapered means that it's going to be layered. Fade means that it's going to blend from nothing to something. Lower means it's going to be shorter. So you got to remember what culture I grew up in, bro. So you got to understand. We know about fades. We know about haircuts. We know about braids, dreads, all that other stuff. Yes. So you're telling me look it up. You have never had to have a fade. You know, your dad might know about it though. How's Joe, by the way? Do you like fluffy fringes? I don't even know what that is. Oh, and edges. I think that you're really just coming out of the woodwork with cutting terminology, hair cutting terminology. Uh but no, I don't like anything that has anything to do with my hair to be fluffy. Uh, and my edges are typically straight because I end up getting braids more often than not. So I haven't been doing them lately because I've been working so much. He's gonna ask me a question. What do I think about certain people that have dreads? I'm gonna say it doesn't matter which culture has it. Uh, It doesn't look all that attractive from my personal perspective, but I can say that with like blonde hair or dirty blonde hair, it does look very, very dirty. I am going to tell you that. If it was a dark brown colored hair, it kind of just looks like a gigantic braid or a plait. But when you're looking at straight hair being forced into a dreadlock, it kind of looks like dog hair caught in a vacuum cleaner. When you start pulling it out, it doesn't look that appealing to me. So, like, do I knock the style? No. Would I get the style? Of course not. And it's hard to maintain because you have to understand that you have to retwist or relock the braid every couple of weeks. You got to pay somebody to go through every strand and take the new growth and phase it into the already existing hair. And then you cannot change that hairstyle. So those people who are indecisive or those people who always like to have a new look, you can't comb your whole hair to the left today and comb your hair to the right tomorrow. It's either down or it's up. That's it. That's it. It's either down or it's up. And then if you lose a braid for whatever reason, now you got a patch missing out of your head because it comes out to the scalp. So the only thing that you can do to deal with breakage, to deal with hair falling out, stuff to that effect, which that's what's going to have people who used to have a head full of braids or a head full of dreadlocks to start having a larger quantity of larger dreadlocks, or a smaller quantity of larger dreadlocks instead of a bunch of smaller dreadlocks, because due to breakage, they end up taking 2 or 3 dreadlocks that are not staying in, and they kind of connect them together and make a bigger dread. And they go from having like probably 30 to 100 or so to having like 2 or 3 big ones. And then by the time they get to that one, that's when they just cut all their hair off and start over. So, because that's really the only way that you could change your hairstyle once you get dreadlocks, is cut all your hair off. Now, you can do plaits, which are something like dreads, but the difference between plaits and dreads is that you can take those out. Take those out, wash your hair, and do something different. So as we were talking about with the deadlines for tax season for 2025, again, we still have our deadlines for most individuals filing their taxes to be around April 15th, 2025. And if this date falls on a weekend or a holiday, it will shift to the next business day, which means that if the 15th falls on a Saturday, then it'll be due on the 18th. So you got to remember that you can still get it in late. I recommend that if you don't get a tax agent, that you try to get it done yourself right now, and then try to wrap things up in the next week. And that way you have it on deck. That way, when they're willing to take it, that they'll get it. They'll start processing it. If you are one of those early filers, you got to remember that if you throw yours down first, you might qualify for whatever refunds first. But you also got to remember that they audit the last handful of people before they audit the first handful of people. And you also got to remember that there are some certain criteria that makes your random selection stand out in the crowd. So you just got to make sure that you don't stand out in the crowd. For those who need more time, extensions can be requested, allowing on-time filing until October 15th, 2025. But you're also going to have any taxes owed must be paid by the original date due to avoid the penalties. So if you are one of those entities that pay taxes, like a buddy of mine who's got more 1099 work than W-2 work, he's going to be paying a ton of taxes this year. And the fact is that if the taxes was paid in advance or paid before April 15th, if you're still working on filing your taxes, you can still get your taxes in by October and still get your refunds back for any qualifiable refunds that you get. But if you don't send the money on time, there's going to be penalties. Those of you that do quarterly for your business, which I would never recommend anybody to do quarterly taxes. But if you have quarterly taxes that you're filing, you need to go ahead and submit that money every quarter. And then when tax season starts, you can do your taxes. And then whatever you qualify for as late as October, you can get your taxes back. I can tell you that if the IRS is having trouble with your identity, or if they're having trouble with the documents that you're sending in, without even having to request additional time, because you're not filing new information, they're trying to get your information together, you can go as late as December sending them stuff to get everything situated. But whatever you did on time, it's done. So you're not going to see any penalties for that. Now, remember, okay, wait, he says, oh, he's talking about those people that say what's good, gang, instead of hey or hello. Yeah, you got some people who try too hard to be cool. High five to their efforts, but you do not want to devalue yourself with low value language. You want to make sure that hi, hello, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, please and thank you is in your vocabulary if you want to be financially successful. If you don't, do what you got to do. I seen both comments. And my original comment for the first half was blonde dreads don't look good, and the second comment was, you shouldn't use low value dialogue and maintain yourself with a higher standard. And when you say that Vex Bolt was saying racist stuff about the minority culture, you have to understand that there are still going to be, in the next 4 years, there is going to be even more open displays of racism in the United States. Not specifically because of the figurehead that runs the country, but because people need an excuse. If we would have had a female president, does that mean that the females would start behaving better? They would have more control over contraceptives and sex, but that does not mean that more women would get more jobs, and this would start becoming a matriarchy society where women would dictate terms, but women would pay the cost to be the boss instead of depending on the men to finance everything while still having their hand out with the expectations for compensation. So I just want to say that it is strange that individuals will look at the current president and say, oh, well, he's the reason why the people have started turning on each other. No, because all Americans were backing each other up when they were trying to get rid of the Mexicans. You had misdirected racism because you went from the low-income minorities that were born and raised in America being mistreated by the middle class to everyone mistreating the immigrants. It's like, why would you treat other people poorly when you didn't like being treated that way, when you've been treated this way your whole life? Now you're going to behave the way your oppressors behave because the new guy shows up and now you can be part of the bully group. I don't agree with that, but it's gonna be something that's gonna happen in society because divide and conquer works. A country divided cannot be in charge. So we, the people who are supposed to control the company, who are supposed to control the country, do not control the country because we, the people, are divided. Isn't that interesting? Because remember, we're supposed to vote every year, not once every 4 years. We're supposed to vote for every level of government, including education, and we don't vote. We're supposed to vote for the sheriff in town, the chief of police. We're supposed to vote for the deans in the schools, the principals. We're supposed to be voting for the school board. A lot of these positions are supposed to be rotating positions where there's supposed to be a different person in that position every couple of years so that nobody gets comfortable in that position and starts being manipulated by lobbyists. But because nobody does their part outside of a small group of people who don't mind being there for 20 years, now you can turn what is supposed to be a 1 to 2 year job, a 1 to 2 year position, into a 20 to 40 year career. It makes no sense. So, yeah. Yeah, we're in a country where everybody is going to be divided either by physical features, where you have gender division, you have um, race division, you have physical appearance division, where like people don't like short people and other people don't like tall people, and then you've got this financial status where people don't like poor people don't like people on financial assistance and Section 8 housing. You have people who don't like people with a lot of debt. You've got self-employed people. If you don't make enough money, you have the prestige of the job that you work on. So even if you are making $70,000 a year, if you're working on a low value job, then people don't have respect for you. So there's never a scenario. Then you have on an educational platform, the number of degrees that one person has versus another person is going to throw them into another loop. So you have that to think about. There's so many things that you really just can't put a pin on one way to be, because there's going to be a group of people that is going to mistreat another group of people because they're different in a country that promotes uniqueness. It's weird. It's weird. It's hypocritical. It's a big conundrum, but that's what we got going on. So back to our stimulus checks. If stimulus checks do come back, it's essential to be aware of the eligibility criteria and the potential impact of your finances. So you want to make sure that if you qualify for the stimulus check, when you get the stimulus check, you want to do something positive with it. Don't waste it on unnecessary frivolousness. You want to get stuff of value. And I don't mean like it costs a lot of money or it's worth it financially. I mean like value, like you can use it for an extended period of time. It can fix something that needs to be fixed. It can replace something that needs to be replaced. And things that need to be replaced are things that help you make money. So if you're not making money off of it, it's not worth replacing. Unless it's going to save you time so that you have more time to make money. So you can replace the vacuum cleaner, you can fix the washer and dryer, you can fix the stove, the refrigerator, the dishwasher. But buying a new Xbox so that you can get on the new GTA 6, that's not where your money's supposed to go. Buying your kids holiday presents, that's not where they're supposed to. If you teach your kids responsibility, and instead of giving your kids a gift of their favorite toy, if you give your kids a gift of a trust with their name on it, where when they turn 18 that they can get distributions of wealth, you would be giving them a better gift today, and then show them how to invest in that on a regular basis so that they can get more money tomorrow, next year, the year after that. Because if you get it from 9 years old to 18 years old, if you opened up a trust for your kid when they were born, and then you teach them how to start investing in that trust when they're 9, that by the time they're 18, that would have been an 18-year-long trust. I don't care what you're putting into that trust. Your kid gonna have something. If you put money up for 18 years, and that kid's gonna get it when they turn 18. Whether they take and then if you teach them financial responsibility, instead of them taking the principal and running off and going to buy them an expensive car, they can take the dividends and go and buy whatever they want and be getting dividends on a monthly or quarterly basis, where they don't have to look for that particular distribution of capital, even if they decide to get a job on top of that. So remember, by staying informed and being prepared, we can take control of our financial futures and make the most of any opportunities that come our way. Whether or not we see stimulus checks in 2025, that remains to be seen. But one thing is for sure, knowledge is power, and staying informed is key. So after we've discussed the uncertainty surrounding the future of stimulus checks, the criteria that affect distribution, and the importance of staying informed, remember, it is crucial to stay up to date on economic indicators and government policies. That will also affect your investment portfolio, because as things change in the government, is as certain businesses are receiving or being denied the market. That's the best way to put it. Certain restrictions prevent people from buying and selling certain things or providing certain things to certain people. Certain restrictions change service distribution. Certain restrictions change manufacturing distribution, which changes the product. It changes the availability of the product and changes the user accessibility of the product. Certain bans that go up that prohibit the usage, if not ownership or purchase of certain items, prevent companies that used to sell those items from selling those items anymore. So you got to pay attention. And all of that impacts the profits and losses of a company, which also impacts the value of the shares of the company, which also impacts the dividend distribution of that company, which impacts how much money goes into your pocket because of something that happens somewhere else. So as these changes can significantly impact your eligibility for stimulus checks, you want to remember it overall. these payments reflect ongoing efforts by the government to support individuals facing financial challenges as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent economic pressures. So while some states like California are actively providing inflation relief checks, there are no uniform approaches across the country, and many states have yet to implement similar programs. California's been doing a lot of stuff because while they're giving out reparations for the minority culture, they're giving out stimulus checks for the non-minority culture. They're probably going to be giving stimulus checks to the minority culture also, but by doing so, they're putting a lot more money back into their economy, which allows for more spending to occur, which also allows for more employment to occur, which also allows for more money to be made by the local people that allows them to spend more money. So it stimulates the economy to put stimulus checks back into the hands of the poor people. Nevertheless, this Robin Hood tactic is specific where the stimulus checks being issued for 2024, particularly for those who missed early payments. There is no new federal stimulus programs beyond these initiatives. So since, I got to tiptoe up out of here, since we got some guys that are going to be showing up to handle a contract in about 45 minutes. I want to thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to leave your thoughts and comments the way Max Opposer and Fireball did. Also, special shout out to Red Void and Omni81 and Liberty Twitcher and Mr. Pibbs and AJ from Twitch, and special shout out for Twitter. Everybody's rolling in today, so appreciate you guys coming in. But if you've received a stimulus check in the past, there's a question that I have for you. Do you think you'll see another round in 2025 session? And let us know what your comments are. If you're new here, make sure that you consider liking and subscribing. Make sure that you, because you're going to get a lot of updates on the chaos that fall out during the tax season, because we cover all kind of stuff on this podcast. We have been trending about trying to get you guys to get your personal finances up. So if you're looking at tips and tricks on taxes, or if you're looking at personal finance ideas, you guys can come and talk to us. Drop some comments in the comments down below, or in other comments sections in other parts of the platform. We also have, for the community, they have a community tab now. So for those of you that want to go in there and talk to us on the community tab and leave us questions and messages, you guys can do so. And I get back to most people same day, as long as I don't have too many people and not enough time. So while we've got some fantastic videos on how to maximize tax refunds and reduce your tax liability, when we were talking with Joe Mastrano, you can also get some information after the show about Joe Mastrano, who can help you with your taxes and help you improve your ability to get a refund, or at least not owe Uncle Sam without having to worry about getting audited. So check those videos out as time goes forward. That is actually all that I have. Oh, hey, Max, we dropped a label. Well, we didn't drop a label. We got picked up by a label and dropped an album. That's what happened. So after the show, if you linger around, you'll be able to kind of hear what we got going on with our exclusive soundtracks. You see it in the description section below the show, where we have about 5 different songs that are, or 5 songs, 3 of them different, that 2 of them are covers that are exclusive to the podcast. So you'll be able to see that, and there's places where you can go buy that. So you'll be able to take a look at, as you've got Ohio at the bottom of the, good job. So you'll be able to take a look at that, and you'll be able to see what we've got going on. I thought it was awesome. Even though you expect me to have fried chicken, watermelon, and rap music, I got to tell you, I think that this was a live band that did a very good job of representing the podcast. So maybe you should check that out as we walk out. It's about a 4-minute long song. So, you can hang out, listen to some music, and rock out as we finish wrapping up the show. I thought that I should tell you about that because it came out since the last time I seen you, and I haven't seen you, and I've been running it all week on the podcast, and I thought that you'd enjoy that. So either way, Make sure that you guys hit that like button as well as subscribing if you haven't subscribed already. Like I always say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Special shout out to Max Opposer, Reese Martinez, the Fireball, Mr. Pibbs, I'm the 81, Red Void, AJ. We really appreciate you guys for coming to the show, because without you guys, wouldn't know what we would have going on here. The fellas make the podcast what it is. We really appreciate you guys coming to the show. Beyond that, I'm your host, Xander, with This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.